Part 13. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 121. Chapter 121 Chapter 121 Boss, take it easy. But the less he wanted to think about something, the more he wanted to think about it. Thinking about Fu Yan, his steps slowed down, and he didn't know how to speak. When I was young, you and your fifth uncle. Fu Yan's words just came out of her mouth. Zhang was just a wild girl picked up by the Fu family when she was young. This coming-of-age ceremony was grander than that of a princess. She is really lucky. What a blessing. You didn't see the way Mr. Fu looked at her on the stage. What do you mean? What do you mean? Don't you understand yet? Do you know the bracelet Zhang was wearing when he was young? What's wrong with that bracelet? That bracelet is an ancestral possession of the Fu family. It has been given to the daughter-in-law for generations. I was lucky enough to see it once at the wedding of the eldest son of the Fu family. What do you mean by the bracelet Mr. Fu gave her? The woman was surprised and said, so maybe Zhang Xiaoxiao would have. Shhh. Keep your voice down and don't talk nonsense. If someone with serious intentions hears it, we will offend the Fu family. Do you still want to hang out in Ruchin? Yes, I know, I'm just saying, that Zhou Yuling has been with Fu Jianxiu for 10 years without any name or status. After a long time, that wild girl got the first step, and it was also that wild girl, although she didn't look very good. But the figure is indeed good, especially hung. I don't know if it was given by Mr. Fu. 2 or 3 women were discussing animatedly in the garden, but Fu Yan's face had long been as dark as the bottom of a pot, and the hand holding Zhang Shishi was shaking with anger. Zhang Xiao's expression was equally bad. After all, being said so behind her back made no one feel good. Although she and the boss didn't do anything, it was a fact that the boss liked her. Some things might really happen if she didn't leave. Occur. But now it's business to stop Fu Yan from getting angry. She lowered her voice and said, Third aunt, don't conflict with them now. Let's leave first. You can check the surveillance when you come back. Uncle Wu and I have nothing. Just keep your heart in your stomach. Even though Zhang Xiaoxiao said this, the seeds of doubt were planted in Fu Yan's heart. Okay, let's go first. Fourth brother, have you seen Xiaoxiao? Fu Jianxiu had been pestered by a group of business partners for a while, and now he was finally free. He glanced around the hall but did not see Zhang Xiaoxi, and his eyebrows were furrowed. Fu Shenyuan also glanced around the hall. I didn't see it. Is he with Niu Niu? Fu Jianxiu turned around and was about to find someone, but Fu Shenchen stopped him. Xiao Wu, I know what you are thinking, but you still have to take Dad's feelings into consideration. It's really hard for you to give Xiaoxiao a bracelet in front of so many people today. It's inappropriate. I will explain, Fu Jianxiu said with a deep look. The old man is old, take it easy. Fu Shenchen knew that he couldn't change his mind, but he just reminded him not to make the old man mad. After all, it took him a whole week to digest the matter. Yes, Fu Jianxiu responded softly, turned around and went to find someone. He walked around the hall without seeing anyone, and was about to go to the garden to find someone. Guanyang caught up with him, took out an ointment from his suit and gave it to him. Boss, take it easy, I'm still young. Fu Jianxiu took the ointment silently and asked quietly, how is the effect of the medicine? Guanyang, very good. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 122. Chapter 122 122 hours couldn't have run away. Fu Jianxiu searched the back garden but did not see Zhang Shishi and Chu Hanyu. His face became more and more cold, and finally he saw An Nangxuan and Chen biking in the swimming pool. Xiaoxiao and Niuniu, have you seen them? Fu Jianxiu's eyes stayed on the corners of An Nangxuan's cracked mouth. After Fuchinexio said something, and Nangsuan came back to his senses. It seemed that he had not seen Chu Hanyu before he and Chen Baiking came out. "Boss, I haven't seen Niu Niu for almost 2 hours." Chen Baiking reacted the fastest and went to find someone one step ahead. And Nangsuan followed Fuchinexio, but his heart started to rise, thinking that these two girls were secretly plotting something. Just thinking about it made him frightened. This night was what the boss had been looking forward to for a long time. If Chu Hanyu was really messing around, and he really didn't know how to protect her. "Xiao Xiao, this is a brand new card. There is 1 million in the card, and this is the address of your homestay family over there. The school has also arranged it for you. You can go as soon as you settle in." Fuyan put it in advance. All the prepared things were handed to Zhang Shi. Zhang Xiao looked down at these things and was moved in his heart. Bai Yueguang had no blood relationship with the Fu family, but each of them was very kind to Bai Yueguang, and they couldn't pretend to love her. Zhang Xiao's eyes turned red instinctively, and she hugged Fuyan. "Third aunt, thank you. We are a family. If you run out of money over there, just call back to your fifth uncle's place. After a long time, he will not object if you are studying there." Fuyan still hoped in her heart that Zhang Shi went abroad as a child, and now her state of mind is completely different from before. Zhang Xiao responded, then took off the bracelet on her hand and placed it in Fuyan's palm. "Third aunt, please keep this thing for grandpa. When fifth uncle gets married, you can give it to him." Fuyan was holding the bracelet, feeling confused. According to her understanding of her brother, if she really liked Zhang Xiaoxi, then sooner or later this bracelet would be brought to Zhang Xiaoxi, but she didn't hope that would be the case. After all, the two of them when they are together alone, words even uglier than what she heard just now will appear. Gossips are terrible. Also, the age difference between the two is too big. "I will give the bracelet to your grandpa. Do you know that you have to report that you are safe when you get there?" Fuyan asked. "Okay, I know. Don't worry." Third aunt Zhang Xiao got on the helicopter and said goodbye to Fuyan. "Niu, have you seen the hour?" And Nangsuan found Chu Hanyu in the lounge and was relieved when he saw that she was alone. Chu Hanyu drank some wine and felt a little dizzy, so he fell asleep in the lounge. Now he woke up when he saw Fu Chenexai drinking. "Uncle Fu, I didn't see you when I was young. I haven't seen her tonight." Fu Chenexai stared at Chu Hanyu with cold eyes. An uneasiness began to spread in his heart, and he turned around and left the lounge. And Nangsuan's heart skipped a beat, and his eyelids began to beat uneasily. "Niu, you didn't have any secret plans with me when you were a kid, right?" Chu Hanyu also realized that something was wrong, and frowned. "Uncle An, didn't you run away when you were young?" And Nangsuan. The first time Fu Chenexai left the lounge, he went to the monitoring room. By coincidence, the monitoring room at home was turned off. Fu Chenexai's face darkened on the spot, his face looked horrified, and his teeth chattered. "Zhang Xiao, you well done, you dared to run." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 123. Chapter 123. Chapter 123. Grandpa, is fifth uncle not angry? Country. Zhang Xiao stood in the homestay garden full of energy and breathed fresh air. She had spent 2 days here safely. She believed that the boss was no longer looking for her, and she no longer had to worry about being harmed by the boss every day. This feeling is simply too good. Sunshine, beach, freedom. I have your phone number. Well, come in right away. Zhang Xiao stretched, turned around and ran into the small villa. She took the phone and thanked the girl who called her. "Medina, thank you." "You're welcome, I have a party tonight, do you want to go with me? Medina asked. May I? Certainly. I'm going, Medina, please wait for me tonight. Zhang Xiao desperately wanted to make new friends and quickly integrate into the life here, so he had to go out more. Okay, Medina agreed to wait for her and went upstairs to dress up for the evening party. Zhang Xiao only then spoke to the person on the phone. Hello. When I was young, it was me, Grandpa. How are you getting used to it there? Why didn't you answer my phone when I called you? Is the money Grandpa gave you enough? Are the people in the host family okay? You girl forgot to follow me when you left. Grandpa said he was safe, but he was so worried that he couldn't sleep all night. Mr. Fu's continuous concern made Zhang Xiaoxi feel warm in his heart. A faint smile naturally appeared on the corner of his mouth. Grandpa, I'm very good. I haven't used the money you gave me yet. The people in the host family are also very nice. I'm sorry for making you worry. When I was little, why don't you use the money Grandpa gave you? You are a girl out there, so don't save when you have no money, just tell Grandpa that you are Grandpa's darling and don't save. Zhang Xiao. I have only been here for 2 days and I have nowhere to spend money. But I still feel warm in my heart. How happy it is to be alone in a foreign country and have someone caring about you. Grandpa, I didn't save. I just came here and haven't gone out to see it, so I didn't spend any money, Zhang Xiao explained. If there's anything you're not used to, just tell Grandpa, okay? Don't wrong yourself. Mr. Fu kept nagging because he was worried that she would suffer a loss outside. Zhang Xiao listened obediently and occasionally chimed in. After chatting, the old man mentioned Fu Chenxiu. Xiao Xiao, don't worry about your fifth uncle. He didn't look for you. After a while, Grandpa will tell him that you are just go study. When you are older, he will also learn to let go. Zhang instinctively didn't want to mention Big Brother when she was young, because she couldn't hold back the chills on her back and neck when she thought of Big Brother, but now that the old man mentioned it, she still had to answer, Grandpa, Uncle Wu isn't angry, right? Mr. Fu recalled that night. His son stood in front of them with a face like Shura, and said with anger, I only ask once, where is the hour? Of course Mr. Fu and the others didn't tell him. Fu Chenxiu sneered and turned around and left the Fu family's old house. He didn't lose his temper, but just left like that indifferently, but it made Mr. Fu feel uneasy. He still knew his son's temperament. His son was very thoughtful, and without his consent, they gave Zhang Xiaoxiao to him. Get rid of it, this matter will never be turned over so easily. So it took him 2 days before he called Zhang Xiao. Don't worry about your fifth uncle. You should study hard when you are young. You don't have to worry about anything with Grandpa here. Mr. Fu did not mention whether Fu Chenxiu was angry at that time. Thank you Chen 11, I can't be too cute for the tip. I will probably follow chapter 6 tomorrow to thank you for the tip. Refill. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 124. Chapter 124. Chapter 124. Why is it him? Well, Grandpa, I will study hard and call you often. You should always take care of yourself. Zhang Xiao chatted sweetly with the old man for a while and then hung up the phone. Took out his mobile phone, put his thumb on the power button, frowned slightly, hesitated for a while, but never pressed the power button hard, put the phone back in his pocket and went upstairs. Fu's building. Fu Chenxiu half squinted his eyes and flipped through the A4 paper in his hand with clean and sharp fingers. The entire office was silent and could only hear the rustle of him turning pages. Luo Yi looked at his boss with his heart tense. Fifth master, the young lady is in country M and has not yet reported to the school that the old man has found for her, should still be living in the host family. Fu Chenxiu put down the A4 paper in his hand and lowered his eyes. The soft black eyelashes covered the emotions under his eyes, making it difficult for people to see clearly his emotions at this time. Luo Yi swallowed his throat nervously. Who knows what kind of dire straits he has been living in these 2 days. Zhang Xiaoxi ran away from home. To be more precise, Zhang Xiaoxi was secretly tricked by the old man without the fifth master's consent. He went abroad and hid it from the fifth master. In order to find out Zhang Xi's whereabouts, he had several gray hairs in the past 2 days. Miss, if you want to go abroad, can't you go abroad in a good way? Why should he do it quietly? His nerves have been tense for the past 2 days, fearing that he will touch the fifth master's emotions. He doesn't want to receive the death stare. It's terrible, so terrible. Is the helicopter ready? Fu Chenxiao's cold voice finally sounded after 5 minutes of silence. Luo Yi stood up straight as soon as he heard Fu Chenxiao's voice and answered, "Ready, Mr. Wu, will you leave now?" Crunch. There was a harsh sound as the seat was moved and scraped against the floor. Fu Chenxiao's tall and straight body was seen walking out the door. Luo Yi didn't dare to delay for a moment to follow him. I silently prayed for Zhang Xiaoxi in my heart. He has been with Fu Chenxiao for so many years. This is the second time he has seen the fifth master so angry. The first time was when the young lady took the money to propose marriage, and the second time is now. I don't know what method Zhang Xiao used to calm Master Wu down. I wish her good luck this time. Zhang Xiao gave herself a beautiful makeup, covered the wounds on her face, put on clothes and went downstairs to meet Medina. "Dina, will your friend like me?" Zhang Xiao asked Medina a little nervously. Medina held her arm and comforted her. "When I was young, my friends were all very nice. They will like you as a new friend. Don't worry. By the way, at this party, one of us is from the same place as you. Boys, you can get to know each other." Okay, Zhang Xiao chatted with her and then arrived at her friend's house. This is a very ordinary gathering of friends, a barbecue in a back garden. Medina took Zhang Xiaoxi and introduced her to the protagonist of the gathering, Abby. "This is my friend named Zhang Xiaoxi, from Ruchin." "Hello, beautiful lady, my name is Abby, Rila, welcome to Country M, I hope you have a good time at my party." After the man finished speaking, he gave Zhang Xiao a bear hug. Zhang Xiao knew that this was the etiquette of Country M, and responded enthusiastically, "I hope it didn't bother you. Your party looks great. This is prepared for me by a friend who comes from the same place as you. You can get to know him." After speaking, Abby waved to the man far away in the swimming pool. Zhang Xiao looked along where he was waving, and saw the man's face getting clearer and clearer. His little face froze on the spot. How could it be him? End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 125. Chapter 125. Chapter 125. What kind of luck is this? Nian, walk faster and I will introduce you to a beautiful lady, Abby urged him. The figure in the distance quickened his steps because of his words. When he came to Abby and saw Zhang Xiao arriving, his expression also froze. Abby didn't notice the expressions of the two people. Instead, he enthusiastically introduced them to each other. "Nian, let me introduce to you. This beautiful lady comes from the same place as you, Ruchin. Her name is Zhang Shishi. When I was young, this is my good friend, Yannian Odmars." Gave finished the introduction. Zhang Xiao felt that the atmosphere was very awkward. She never dreamed that she would meet Yannian here. What kind of bad luck did she have? The two of them were silent and made no next move, not even the most basic greeting. Abby crooked Yannian with her hand, signaling him to be more gentlemanly, and even spoke to lighten the atmosphere. "Nian, have you become stupid when you see such a beautiful lady? You even forgot to say hello." Yannian's eyes were always on Zhang Xiao, his eyes full of sadness. After a long time, his thin lips slightly opened, and his tone was so cautious and full of expectation. "Xiao, are you here to see me? Zhang Xiao Xiao. The eldest brother thought it was an illness that needed treatment. I knew you loved me when I was little, but your fifth uncle wanted to break us up by force. Now that you escaped, you came to me right away, right? Jiangxi. Xiao Xiao, let's get married. I will protect you for the rest of my life, Yannian said excitedly. He stepped forward and hugged Zhang Xiaoxi tightly, with tears in the corners of his eyes. Jiangxi. Child, please don't leave me, okay? I'm thinking of you every moment I'm in country M. Even if your fifth uncle wants to kill me, I still want to be with you. Zhang Xiao was out of breath after being hugged by the bear. He pushed Yannian hard and said, Yannian, let me go first. I can't breathe. We have something to talk about. Yannian only let go a little, but did not completely let go of Jiangxi. Xiaoxi, I'll listen to what you want to say. Zhang Xiao. Has she finally escaped from the tiger's den and is about to enter the wolf's den again? Worry. Yannian, I didn't come here to find you. I came here to study. I was surprised to meet you, Zhang Xiao said helplessly to the young man in front of him. It would be better to say some things earlier, so as not to create new conflicts. If you misunderstand, it will lead to chaos and confusion. After hearing what Zhang Xiaoxi said, Yannian's body stiffened, and his handsome face showed a hurt expression. Xiaoxia, you lied to me, right? You just came to find me, right? We really love each other, right? Zhang had a headache when he was young. Why is this kid so arrogant? Miss Bai Yueguang never liked him, right? After all, from her memory of seeing Miss Bai Yueguang, from the beginning to the end, Miss Bai Yueguang came with him with the mood of confronting the big boss, but it was indeed Miss Bai Yueguang who flirted with this kid first. It's too bad. It's too bad. She has to solve the problems left over from history. It's too difficult for her. Yannian, I'm sorry. I have never liked you. I was with you to resist my fifth uncle's strict discipline on me. I hurt you. I'm sorry. Zhang Xiaoxiao didn't want to have anything to do with this boy, so just say it to death. Yannian's heart shrank violently, and as soon as his hands loosened, Zhang Xiao broke free on the spot. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 126. Chapter 126. Chapter 126. Hours, can I pursue you again? Zhang Xiao kept a certain distance from Yannian, and his whole body exuded an air of alienation. Yannian stared at her injured, when I was young. Abi had been watching for so long. He was a fool and noticed something unusual between the two of them. He quickly stopped his friend and said, Nian, today is a party hosted by me. What can you wait for? Let's talk after the party. Yannian's eyes have always been on Zhang Xiaoxi. He watched helplessly as Zhang Xiaoxi was taken away by Medina and went to other places. He had no choice but to listen to Abi's advice and wait for the party to end to find Zhang Xiaoxi. Zhang followed Medina when she was a child and met many new friends, which made her feel the friendship between them. They all had a great time eating, drinking and chatting together. So time passed very quickly, and soon night fell. Medina was asked by several other friends to go somewhere else to play. Zhang Xiao had no choice but to go back by herself. Fortunately, the distance was not too far, and she knew the road. You can go back by yourself. But if it weren't for the young man blocking the road in front of her, she would have been happier today. Zhang looked at Yannian with pain in his temples, and said in a helpless voice, Yannian, I have told you clearly, why can't you let it go? The young man's face was stiff, and the warm light reflected on his face only a pitiful feeling of abandonment. When you are a kid, it's too late, so I'll take you home. I can find a way, I don't need you to send me there. Zhang Ziaxi refused him and walked forward alone. Yan followed her footsteps and followed her slowly. His tone was close to pleading. Child, even if you don't like me, don't refuse me to send you home, okay? It's not safe for you as a girl in a foreign country. Zhang Xiaoxiao couldn't refute Yannian's words. After all, it was really not safe for a girl in a foreign country, so he acquiesced to her following him. Yannian walked from behind her to her side, his eyes lingering on her face. After all, he still couldn't suppress the concern for her in his heart. Child, why is your face hurt? The injury I suffered unintentionally has healed. Zhang Xiao's tone was very calm and distant. She really didn't want to have anything to do with him. Can't he just let her live here quietly and carelessly? Yannian pursed his lips and lowered his eyelids, seeming to be thinking about something. He occasionally glanced at the girl's side face from the corner of his eye. He walked in silence for a while and saw that he was about to arrive at the place where Zhang Xiao lived. Yannianze couldn't hold himself back and said, Child, can I pursue you again? Yannian's tone was so pleading and expectant. Zhang Xiao stopped tiredly, looked at Yannian with his dark eyes very seriously, and said ruthlessly, No, because I can tell you very clearly that I don't like you now and I won't like you in the future. So don't have any illusions about me. Xiao, why didn't you even give me a chance? Yannian looked at Zhang Xiao very hurt. He didn't believe that the girl who loved him so much could let go of his feelings for him so easily. He didn't believe that. Yannian, I've made it very clear to you I've been using you from the beginning to the end. I've also told you that I'm sorry. Isn't it good that this is the case between us? No, you've been using me since I was young, so you can use me for the rest of your life. Okay, I'm willing to be used by you. Yannian growled. Uncle Wu will arrive at the battlefield in 5 seconds, ha ha ha. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 127. Chapter 127. Chapter 127. We met by chance. Ha. Jiang's head hurt when she was young. She said it so straightforwardly. Why is this child still so stubborn? Are all teenagers so stubborn? Zhang Xiaoxiao's face darkened, staring at him coldly, his voice not loud but very cold. Yannian, if you don't want us to meet strangers in the future, then don't say these words. Yannian's thin body swayed slightly, the corners of his lips pursed into a straight line, his face turned pale, and there was a circle of red around his eyes. When I was young, I really loved you, can't you really give me this chance? Zhang Xiao shook his head slightly. No, I'm already home. You can go back. I hope you won't come to me in the future. There is no need for any more communication between us. Yannian looked at Zhang Shishi, who had turned around and walked into the villa with a chill. His heart ached indescribably. His voice was hoarse and tainted with a hint of crying that was hard to detect. Xiaoxi, can I hug you? As ours the final separation. Zhang Xiao refused in his heart, but he sympathized with Yannian. A good young man was hurt by Baiyu Guang. He turned around and nodded, which was regarded as agreement. Yannian walked over and hugged Zhang Xiaoxi without force this time. He just hugged her lightly and whispered in her ear, Xiao, you must be happy in the future. You too. Zhang Xiao sincerely hoped that this innocent boy would be happy. After all, he was so innocent. Zhang Xiao returned to his room. Before his fingers touched the switch, someone hugged him. Zhang Xiao's heart suddenly rose to her throat, her whole back and neck were chilling, and thin cold sweat broke out on her forehead. She almost screamed. She had heard people say that there was chaos abroad, but she didn't expect it to be true. She was at home. You can meet gangsters all the time. It doesn't matter if it's really about robbing money or something, but if it's about robbing sex. Zhang Shi didn't dare to think about it and forced himself to calm down, but he still couldn't hide the nervousness and fear in his voice. He tremblingly said in country language, "Brother, if you ask for money, I will give it to you. Don't be impulsive." It was deathly silent. Zhang Xiaoxiao could only hear his own chaotic breathing. The man seemed not to be breathing, but his hands were like steel holding him tight. Zhang Shi swallowed his throat nervously, his big eyes wide open in the darkness, his brain running as fast as a motor, wondering if there was any way to save himself. "Brother, if you have any difficulties, you can tell me, maybe there will be a way to help you, let's not be impulsive, okay?" Ah! A low laugh next to his ears made Zhang Xiaoshi's back straighten up, his heart sank suddenly, he took a deep breath, and with a trembling voice, he called out the most unbelievable name, "Uncle Wu." As soon as she changed his name, her earlobe was bitten hard by sharp teeth, and the man's harsh voice went straight into her ears, "Here you come to meet your little lover, eh?" Zhang Xiao gasped for air, feeling that her whole scalp was numb and her heart was about to explode. When she saw the boss hugging Yannian just now, she could no longer think about why Fu Jianxiu appeared here. She was very worried about her own life, she didn't dare to imagine the consequences of escaping just now. He could only explain first, "Uncle Wu, I don't have a little lover. It's a misunderstanding. Yannian and I just met by chance." "Meet by chance, ha? I think I'm stuck here and will update it tomorrow, ha 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 ha." End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 128. Chapter 128. Chapter 128 Is Uncle Wu's love so hard for you to accept? Fu Jianxiu's protracted tone of voice made the hairs on Zhang Xiao's neck stand up. He raised his spirits and mustered up the courage to speak, "Uncle Fifth, please let go of me first. It hurts me because you're whooping me." Fu Jianxiu was indifferent to her coquettishness. His deep eyes were so cold in the dark night. Zhang Xiao's scalp was tense, and the silence in the dark night was so oppressive that it made him breathless. He moved his arm slightly, trying to fumble to turn on the light. The room that was originally dark suddenly became as bright as day. Only then did Zhang Shi feel a little safer. He twisted his head, and his eyes suddenly met the boss's black eyes. The boss's eyes were as dark as a deep pool, with a little fierce light flashing in them. They were sharp, cold, and fierce. Zhang Xiaoxiu's heart trembled fiercely, her pink lips were stained white, and she was too scared to say a word. The boss's expression now was exactly the same as when she had just walked in. Explanation. Fu Jianxiu's cold voice sounded again. Zhang Xiaoxiu's body trembled, and he stumbled and began to admit his mistake, "Uncle Wu, I was wrong, I shouldn't hug Yannian together." "Is there more?" When Fu Jianxiu heard her and Yannian hugging each other, his dark eyes darkened a little more. The anger around him was surrounding him, and the strength on his wrists unconsciously increased. Zhang Xiao took a deep breath. This time she could clearly feel the arms around her waist. The muscles were bulging and as hard as a rock. "And, shouldn't, come, quietly, to, country." Zhang Xiao lost his voice when he said the last word. He was so scared. Fu Jianxiu's jawline was cold and tense, his cold eyes were lowered, and he stared sharply at Zhang Xiaoxiu's smooth forehead, and sneered, "You still know the reason?" Zhang Shi nodded like a turtle. "I knew you still dared to leave, Zhang Xiao, I was really too indulgent towards you, wasn't it?" Fu Jianxiu couldn't help but drink in a low voice. Zhang Shi was trembling with fear. Fu Jianxiu slapped her the buttocks, "Zhang Xiao, I should build an iron cage and lock you in it. When you can accept our relationship, I will release you. If you can't accept it for the rest of your life, then I will lock you up for the rest of your life." Zhang Xiao was frightened when she heard what the boss said. She knew that since the boss said so, she would definitely do it. She was really screwed this time and really off the boss. "Why don't you say anything, Fu Chenxiao's gaze was like a sharp sword, stabbing into Zhang Xiaoxi. Zhang Xiaoxiao bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. She was simply frightened by the boss. What should she say? If she said that she was not Bai Yueguang, but that she had traveled through time, the boss would probably not believe her even more, and would think it was a new excuse made by her. Fu Chenxiao half squinted his eyes and saw tears welling up in her eyes, and his heart ached. But if someone doesn't teach her now, she still doesn't know how to make a difference in the future. Speak. Zhang Xiao shivered in fright. Let me ask you, is it difficult for you to accept the change in your relationship with Uncle Wu? Zhang pursed his lips and nodded slightly. Fu Chenxiao's pupils were suddenly covered with a layer of black energy, and his face was sinister and terrifying. Is the fifth uncle's love so unacceptable to you? Zhang Xiaoxiao responded softly, well. However, just when she responded, her lips were quickly covered, and a man's domineering breath came in. I'm afraid you'll send me a blade, so another chapter comes, ha 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 ha. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 129. Chapter 129 Chapter 129 All are sharp swords. Zhang Xiaoxiao suddenly widened his eyes in panic, his body tensed upright, and he reluctantly spat out a few words, Fu Chang, 5, no. Fu Chenxiao's dark eyes were extremely cold and hard. This time he seemed to have made up his mind. He immediately turned off the light and took a few big steps back. The two of them changed from standing to walking. Zhang Xiao's mind went blank and it was difficult to even breathe, which made her extremely panicked and she struggled in panic, Fu, Chen. Zhang Xiao was completely stunned. Her little body was shaking like a sieve. Even if she was a fool, she could have guessed what would happen next. When you were young, since my love was so hard for you to accept, you should learn to accept it from this moment on. As soon as Fu Chenxiao's deep and hoarse voice rang in his ears, Zhang Shi felt a sudden chill in his ears the next second, and then the world was spinning. Just when Zhang Xiaoxiao felt that he would die in the next moment, someone said in a hoarse voice, Xiaoxiao, you can only be Uncle Wu's for the rest of your life. Fu Chenxiao finally declared his sovereignty in his own way. But for Zhang Xiao, it was an unacceptable punishment. Fu Chenxiao hugged Zhang Xiaoxiao, his chin resting on the top of her hair, his cold eyes filled with tenderness. Xiaoxia, even if you hate my uncle, I will keep you by my side. Zhang Xiaoxiao's big eyes were burning with small fires. Boss, didn't he just want Bai Yueguang? Now that he has got it, why doesn't he let go? Does he really want to marry Bai Yueguang? Zhang Xiaoxiao turned to face the big boss angrily, glaring at the big boss with a pair of big eyes. His tone was terrifyingly cold. Fu Chenxiao, are you happy? Are you satisfied? Fu Chenxiao's long eyebrows suddenly frowned and he stared at Zhang Xiaoxi. Zhang Xiaoxiao stared at the boss with no fear at all. His brain was basically eaten by a dog. Fu Chenxiao, I tell you clearly, I will not like you. I will not like you in this life or the next life, even if you so what if you get me now, my heart can still like the person I like. As soon as Zhang Xiaoxi finished shouting, Fu Chenxiao's handsome face turned gloomy almost at the same time. The aura around him instantly became cold, his black eyes were stained with scarlet, and the veins on his forehead were pulsing. His sight was like a sharp sword piercing someone coldly. For a woman who doesn't know the heights of the sky, Zhang Xiaoxiao, do you have the guts to say it again? If you have the courage to say something the first time, you may not have the courage to say it a second time. What I am talking about is that for people like Zhang Xiaoxiao, when she felt the force on her shoulders that was so strong that it was about to crush her bones, all the courage she had just lost. After feeding the dog, he swallowed his throat nervously, not daring to answer, so he just closed his eyes and pretended to be dead. Fujianexio's face was tense, staring at someone who was pretending to be dead, his eyebrows lowered. Every word of what the little girl said just now was a knife in his heart. She said that she would never like him in this life or the next life. Those words were all sharp swords, which stabbed his flesh and blood. He knew that he was being rash in using this method, but when he saw her hugging that Yanian, the jealousy that he had suppressed and the preparation for an accusation all came out at once, and all his rationality and other things came out at once. They were all burned by the fire of jealousy. When he thought that she wanted to escape from him so much, he only had one thought left, which was to make her hate him, as long as she was by his side. If you don't like it now, you will like it one day. I'm not sure if I will be blocked if I do this. You just have to make do with it. Being blocked is your fate. It's too difficult for me. End of this chapter. After wearing the book, I became the group favorite. Author, Little Ginger. Chapter 130. Chapter 130. Chapter 130. Do you want to hate you forever when you were little? After Zhang Xiaoxiao yelled at the boss and pretended to be dead in the morning, he slept in the villa for a whole day without saying a word to the boss or eating. He just lay there like that. Fu Chenxiao had someone deliver the meal. He looked at Zhang Xiaoxiao who was lying on the bed and ignored him at all. His face was extremely cold, his eyebrows were tightly knitted together, and he suppressed his temper. He didn't know how many times he called someone, "Ours, get up and eat." The person under the quilt moved and refused several times, "I don't want to eat." Fu Chenxiao leaned back on the chair, staring at the lump under the quilt with cold eyes, and said in a very calm tone, "Get ready, how long will you continue to be angry with me?" Jiangxi. Is she angry? In his eyes, he was just out of anger. Whoever gets harmonized will be very happy if he is harmonized by someone he doesn't like, and he made it clear that he doesn't like him. Zhang Xiaoxia frowned tightly, turned his direction, revealed a small head, and looked at the big man angrily, "I don't want to see you." Zhang Xiaoxi didn't even call him fifth uncle. Fu Chenxiao frowned deeply, stared at Zhang Xiaoxi's angry eyes, and his heart pinched hard, "If you don't want to see him, I can. I'll go out after eating the food." "When you go out, I will eat." Zhang Xiao looked at the boss stubbornly. Fu Chenxiao stared at her, pursed his thin lips into a straight line, and stared at her for a long time after being silent for a long time. Seeing that she was determined to let him leave, and feeling sorry for her that she hadn't eaten all day, he turned around and left in annoyance. Fu Chenxiao stood outside the door of Zhang Xiaoxiao's room and did not go far. He was afraid that the person inside would disappear the next second and rebel against him. He lit a cigarette for himself in annoyance, and then dialed in Nangxuan's phone number. "Nangxuan, I made my childhood my woman." And Nangxuan, who was still at work, heard Fu Chenxiao's cold voice, and his expression suddenly became serious. It took him several seconds to recover, and he asked with concern, "Xiao Xiao, what's your attitude now?" Fu Chenxiao took a long drag on his cigarette, his face hard and resolute, "You haven't spoken to me for a day, and you haven't eaten a grain of rice." And Nangxuan listened to Fu Chenxiao's words and said in a deep voice, "Boss, it's just hard for me to accept it now." "You give her time and she will accept it?" "But boss, you are really too impulsive this time." Fu Chenxiao's eyelids were half lowered, just covering his dark and cold eyes with boredom, and he remained silent. And Nangxuan sighed helplessly, "Boss, I know your feelings for Xiao Xiao, and I also know that Xiao Xiao left at the birthday party this time to make you angry, but have you ever thought about it? The last time you confessed your love to Xiao Xiao, she may have been panicking since she was a child. In her eyes, you are her elder and someone she respects. Have you ever thought about how panicked and uneasy she felt when this elder suddenly said he liked her? At the banquet, you gave Xiao Xiao the bracelet that the Fu family has given to his daughter-in-law for generations. The old man and the others saw it. Did you think about how you ask Xiao Xiao to face them and the public opinion in this society? But you just gave her time to digest this change. You did not guide her to slowly accept the change in the relationship. And Nangxuan said a lot in one breath. In his heart, Zhang Xiaoxiao was the treasure they watched grow up, and Fu Chenexai was the boss they admired. Both of them were extremely important people, so he wanted to see a happy ending. Boss, do you just want to hate you forever when you were little? That's right, the above chapter has been blocked again. I'll go find the editor tomorrow and you can just make do with it. End of this chapter.